Hello, welcome to Split Bill. My guest has not arrived. My guest is Mr. Stephen Fearing today, and I'm hoping that he's just late, but maybe he forgot. I don't know. I can't tell what's going on. I don't have his phone number, so I can't call him. It's just email. So it's just me right now, and I'm going to play a song or two for you. I was looking for a pick to play with, and I found this nice Love Preachers, Taylor Steele and the Love Preachers guitar pick. Can you see it? Not very good. A little blurry, isn't it? Sorry. Anyway, yeah. So this is a song that was written by Bob Hickam. I think I played it not long ago for the show, but it seems like an appropriate song to play given all the unrest in our society these days, and heavily on my mind. I guess I'll just play this, and then if Stephen doesn't join, I'll take requests, or maybe I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing here in Effingham on Saturday. There's a demonstration, very peaceful. Hopefully, we plan it to be a very peaceful demonstration, and we expect that it will be on Saturday afternoon. I'll tell you a little bit about that, and what the plans are, and how it came to be, and why we're doing it. That's a good question, right? Anyway, this is an old Bob Hickam song. Bob's a retired dentist from up in Idaho Springs, Colorado. But to me, he's just a great guy and a dobro player, and if this song is any indication, a very good songwriter. I'm gonna turn my light on before I start. There we go. As we wander through this wicked, wicked world, hours turn into days, turn into years. We must find a way that we can safely cross it. Oh, the river of tears. Oh, the river of tears. People, why do we struggle so? Why must we be driven by our fears? When all we need to do is feel God's peace within us. Oh, the river of tears. Oh, the river of tears. And the dealer man, he will lure you with his potions. He will fool you with his smoke and with his mirrors. But he will leave you feeling like a helpless piece of driftwood, floating along on a river of tears. Oh, river of tears. So look up into heaven, my sisters and my brothers. Listen with your hearts and not your ears. Something I've lost something there. Falling apart. Starting over that verse. Sorry. So look up into heaven, my sisters and my brothers. Listen with your hearts and not your ears. Maybe you will find a way that you can safely cross it. Oh, river of tears. Oh, river of tears. Oh, river Thank you very much, folks. That's River of Tears, written by Bob Hickam from the band Credibility Gap out of Idaho Springs, Colorado. Been knowing that song a long time. It's on my last record. If you like that song, you can check it out. You can check it out on various, I think iTunes has it, and you can find it on CD Baby. If you want to buy a copy of it, you can go to my website, billpostmusic.com, and I still have copies of that CD and vinyl, if you like that on vinyl. This is very healing. You sure a respite from bad news. Thank you. Thank you. I can't read your name. Jimmy Ann Litke and Lisa Braun from up in Burlington, Wisconsin. Jeff Cotner, Wide that's right, Wide River. You're gonna tell us where you're from, Jeff Cotner. Doug Winters from Round Barn Center checking in. All right. Well, I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday, as good as you can. I have been in a frenzy of activity. There's a group here in Effingham that has decided to assemble on the town square on Saturday, and so we've been putting together a small coalition of people to organize that, and it's going gangbusters. We got a lot of folks interested in coming out and sort of talking about some of the things that are going on, like racial issues, and we're hoping to spark some inspire some at least understanding and unity and those kind of things. We're hesitating to call it a protest. It's not really a protest. It's more of a demonstration, and we're going to have some speakers. So if you're in the Effingham area and you feel like you'd like to be involved with that, and you have the kind of restraint that it takes to just be a peaceful demonstrator, well, we would love to have you with us. And it is not going to be a raucous affair as planned, at least. And so if it's raucous, it will not be on our part. So some people would prefer it were, and some people, I've certainly been parts of protests in the past where it was very spirited and lots of singing and chanting and shouting and stuff. But this is not that kind of an event. We're a small community in the middle of the Midwest, and there are people of color here. I met with some of them yesterday at the planning meeting, but we don't have a big problem with police brutality or intimidation, according to the people I spoke with yesterday, at least, and I believe that to be true based on my own experience. But we do stand with the folks out there in Minneapolis and all over the country who have dealt with that sort of thing, and we'd like for the people in our community to know that we stand with them, and we're glad they are safe, and we intend to do what we can to keep that the case. Anyway, I guess I'll sing another song. I was expecting to talk to Stephen Fearing today, and if any of you came here specifically to hear Stephen Fearing is an amazing performer, and I'm really sorry that I'm not getting a chance to talk to him. But I'm not hearing from him, and I don't know what else to do. So I'm just going to sing a few songs. And if you want to hear a song, you can tell me what it is. Naomi Pachamama, hello, from California. And I just like saying the name, Pachamama. And it rhymes with my name almost, Pasalakwa. This is a song that's on the new scale for me. It's the newest song that I have. It's called Forever Train. I haven't sang it in a few days. I'll probably forget half the words. Nope, I better tune that guitar. Would you find a tuner for me, please? Yes. You want your guitar? JJ's going to give me a tuner. I can tell I'm out of tune. I didn't notice it before. Okay, so on the show tomorrow, who do I have tomorrow? Having a hard time remembering. It's been a little while. We canceled the show yesterday. We didn't cancel. We postponed it till Friday. That is Carolyn Mark, who's an amazing singer, songwriter, performer from Vancouver Island. The queen, in fact, the queen of Vancouver Island, as I understand it. She will be joining me tomorrow, and she is both awesome and hilarious. So you should be checking that out. She's never at a loss for words, and some of the ones that she does use are profane. So be ready for an R, if possibly X-rated event on Friday. Who am I leaving out? I can look at my phone and see. someone tomorrow. Someone from Canada, I remember that much. And I believe a woman. Who is it going to be? Yeah, I didn't write it down. Next week, I'm very excited. On Tuesday, I have Amanda Ann Platt of the Honeycutters. She'll be joining me on Tuesday. And that's all I got for next week. So we're doing less and less of this just because I'm running out of people to interview. Maybe you know someone, you want to invite them. Carolyn Mark is a treasure. Thank you, Stephen Bentley. Thank you for your vote of confidence. Okay, my guitar is getting worn too. This is a song that I wrote waiting for a train, and then it was informed sort of in the writing process first by the death of my friend and a friend of my the wife of my friend, she was also my friend, but really that sort of informed what was going on with this song, and then the pandemic hit, and then so then I finished it, and with that background, that backdrop. I'm parked right here in the middle of the road, my hands on the wheel, my head about to explode. No one to talk to, and there's nowhere to complain. Going nowhere, waiting on this forever train. Where's it going? Where's it been? Is it headed home or rolling out again? When it finally reaches the end of the line, it'll pull into the station right on time. Radio's busted, my phone is dead. Stuck here with me all up in my head. I look in the mirror and I stare into my brain, going nowhere, waiting on this forever train. Where's it going? Where's it been? Is it headed home or rolling out again? When it finally reaches the end of the line, it'll pull into the station right on time. There's people in front of me, people in back, nodding along to that clickety-clack. Separate all together here on Lonesome Lane, counting the cars on this forever train. Where's it going? Where's it been? Is it headed home or rolling out again? When it finally reaches the end of the line, it'll pull into the station right on time. There you go. That's Forever Train by yours truly, Bill Pass. That song is not recorded. I think you can hear it. If you want to hear it again, you can go to my YouTube station, which is Bill Passalaqua, and it's the common spelling, Passalacqua. Have you heard of these favorite Milwaukee bands? Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, I sure have. or Chicken Wire Empire. I sure have, Lisa. Yeah, those are great bands. In fact, they're both. I follow them both on Spotify. I joined Spotify like 3 days ago, and mostly I just use it to listen to bands like Horseshoes and Hand Grenades and Chicken Wire Empire. So it's exciting. It's fun music. Get you going in the morning when you want to do the dishes and you don't have a dishwasher. What else was I going to tell you about? Yeah, I still can't remember who my guest tomorrow. I should probably figure out who my guest for tomorrow is, but I really don't know. The common spelling. Oh yeah, Passala. Can you spell it? Oh baby, it's right there. JJ Pasalaku. You can see it. That's my name. Bill Pasalaku. So somebody asked for, it looks like a trucker song, but they also tagged Fred Eaglesmith. I can play a Fred Eaglesmith song for you, but it should be done with a bluegrass band. And my bluegrass band does a heck of a job with this song, but they're not here, so it's just going to have to be me. There's a little white note on the gate by the road that a man put up yesterday. And when we saw it, we all ran out just to see what it had to say. And when we read it, our eyes filled with tears and they fell to the cold hard place. Something about a mortgage, something about foreclosure, and something about failing to pay. It was on the post by the general store. They hung up a little sign. An auction sale day after tomorrow at the end of the Lincoln line. 30 years of farming, 30 years of heartache, 30 years of day to day. Oh, my daddy stopped talking. The day the farmer's auction, there was nothing left to say. Well, my mama's tears, they fell freely down as we walked amongst the flowers in the yard. Every number the auctioneer called was like a blow to her precious heart. Every number the auctioneer called was another thing they sold that day. And we stood here watching as everything was auctioned and they loaded it and drove it away. It was on the post by the general store. They hung up a little sign. An auction sale day after tomorrow at the end of the Lincoln line. 30 years of farming, 30 years of heartache, 30 years of day to day. Oh, my daddy stopped talking. The day the farmer's auction, there was nothing left to say. When we woke this morning at the day's first dawn, and there was nothing for us to do. Nothing in greenery, no hand mile, no cattle, tractor, no tools. We loaded up the car, we took the clothes that we wore, and a few things we managed to save. Mama read from the book, we took one last look, and then we drove away. It was on the post by the general store. They hung up a little sign. An auction sale day after tomorrow at the end of the Lincoln line. 30 years of farming, 30 years of heartache, 30 years of day to day. Oh, my daddy stopped talking. The day the farmer's auction, they were away. My daddy stopped talking. The day the farmer's auction, there was nothing left to say. Great news, folks. Great news. I can see backstage, Mr. Stephen Fearing. Let's bring him on. Hey, thanks for the request. Someone asked, Carolyn Mark is playing Friday. She's on Friday. She was supposed to be yesterday, but we did. We were doing Blackout Friday, or Blackout Tuesday, and we skipped her up to Friday. Hey, Stephen Fearing, welcome.
Hi, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sound good.
Okay, good. Sorry, I had a little trouble with my hard drive getting plugged in there, but I'm here now. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to see you.
Let me close my office door and grab my guitar. Give me a second. I'll grab my guitar.
Okay. So I've been trying to figure out who I have as my guest tomorrow, Stephen. I'm getting old and I can't remember shit anymore. So but we'll figure it out, folks. Don't you worry about it. I'm going to figure it out while doing this. So Stephen Fearing is a songwriter performer from I believe he lives in Victoria. Is that right? Victoria?
Yeah, Vancouver Island. I'm in Victoria now.
That's great. Well, see, we would have had back-to-back Victorias because Carolyn Mark is on Friday, but she was going to be yesterday, and then it didn't work out.
Oh, nice.
But
I mean, nice that she's going to be on. I haven't seen Carolyn for ages.
Yeah, it's funny you live in the same town.
Yeah,
she's the queen of your town, or your island, perhaps. I don't know. She's
yes, self-professed.
Well, that's fair enough. Well, I was going to try to figure out who's tomorrow, but I don't have it. So how have you been?
I think the fill in the blank, like with everybody else, they're confused. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. The COVID roller coaster. What's going on now in the world is making it even more crazy. So I regularly just turn everything off and go in my garden, and that helps. But I'm lucky. I live in a beautiful part of the world. It's not hard to get my 10,000 steps in this neighborhood. All things considered, I'm doing great compared to what a lot of people are going through.
Yeah.
But it's a great big unknown, and I struggle with it, to be honest.
I follow you on Twitter, and I see some of your ups and downs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's always nice to see a face that I consider to be a friend, who's going through some of the same things that I'm going through. And
I got to get a friggin' haircut someday soon. Look at this. I'm starting to look like the mom from the Partridge Family.
Yeah, I have the kind of hair that the longer it gets, the balder I look. It's terrible. But well, since we got a little bit of a late start, I'm gonna jump right toward asking you to play a song, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
At some point today, I'd really love to hear you sing that song, "Someone Else's Shoes."
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Let me. Let me just make sure I've got my capo on.
For those of you who don't know Stephen, he's also, in addition to being a singer-songwriter, he's also part of a great band that I love called Blackie and the Rodeo Kings. And they're from all over places and stuff. And he's collaborated with a lot of other performers over the years. I'll let him talk about that in a minute. But,
so Someone Else's Shoes? Yeah?
Yeah, please.
Sure. Outside the world is crying, breaks my heart in two. 'Cause no one is an island, better walk in someone else's shoes. 'Cause we don't really see each other, we don't even trust the truth. Is the old divide and conquer, eye for an eye and tooth for tooth. Heaven help the privileged ones who never felt the blues. You won't find the road to love till you walk in someone else's shoes. Walk walk in someone else's shoes. Heaven help the privileged ones who never felt the blues. You won't find the road to love till you walk in someone else's shoes. Walk in someone else's shoes. Walk in someone else's shoes. Thank you.
There's my wife chiming in.
The sound
Truer
of one
words are
hand
never
clapping.
spoken. Can you can you see the comments, Steven?
No.
Can you-
Where
If you
would
look
I
at the control panel on the side of the screen there, it's-
live comments? Yeah. Hello. Hey, look at all that. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beautiful. That's a great song. It
Thank
sounds like a song that you wrote yesterday or something, but is it an old song or is that?
No, I wrote it last year. Put out a record called "The Unconquerable Past." Came out in Canada just before Christmas of last year, and so I wrote it last July. And yeah, it sure seems like a pertinent song right now.
It's just right on time, man. Right on time. So I remember the answer to the question everyone wants to know, which is my guest for tomorrow is John Wart Hannum.
Oh, great.
Can I get an amen? He's a great songwriter from.
Yeah, he is. He's a lovely fellow too.
He's also from BC, isn't he?
He's an Albertan as far as I know, but maybe he's
Okay.
originally from BC, but he lives in Alberta now.
Okay. Oh, Lethbridge, maybe, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, okay. I talked to him at Folk Alliance, and I think I got that. Anyway, yeah. So tomorrow, great songwriter and performer from Lethbridge, Alberta, John Wart Hannum, and then on Friday, Carol and Mark.
Nice. That's good. That's a good lineup.
It's like Western Canada Special Week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me what Pasalacqua is, if I'm pronouncing that even correctly.
You are, especially if you use both hands, like Pasalacqua.
Pasalacqua? Yeah. Okay.
But it's a Sicilian name, and it means the water passes, as in not as in urination, but as in like a aqueduct. You know.
Ah, so Bill Poss is your North Americanized version?
It's my nom de guerre. It's it was so much work to try to educate people over and over and over again to the name, and so I shortened it. Even though I'm very proud of the name, and I wear it as a badge of honor. And on stage, I think Steven is frozen. Is he frozen everywhere or just on my screen? John Wart Hannum is from Fort Macleod, Alberta. Okay, but I think he lives in Lethbridge, right?
Oh.
Patricia? Oh, you were gone for a minute.
Yeah, I was gone. I had to reboot.
Oh, okay. Are you gone again? He might be experiencing technical difficulties. So I actually went to Fort Macleod, Alberta one time for a gig. There was some kind of a street festival up there, and we played up there, and we had to drive in and drive out, which meant it was I think it's about 7 hours or so north and a little bit east of Edmonton, if I'm not mistaken. And Edmonton, if you don't know, it's like, I'm going to say it's 8 hours or 10 hours north of the Canadian American border, excuse me. And so that means Fort Macleod is 15 hours or 17 hours north of Montana. And at that time of year, it was sunlight pretty much just the whole day was sunlight. It was amazing. And I had this quasi dream as I was driving out. I was driving in the RV and I had It was me and it was the whole crew except for Fred and Corey. So there were like 6 of us in the RV, and I had this dream that I turned right instead of turning left, and I drove into the Arctic Circle, and there was lots of northern lights, and I don't know. I wasn't on acid, but it felt like that. It felt kind of like I was on acid or something, but I wasn't. JJ, you like your name? Is that what you're saying? You like Pasalakwa? I like it too. I'm waiting for Steven to come back on. Hopefully he'll. There, I see him. Oh, yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is this thing on? Okay, good. I don't know what happened. I just got booted off twice, so yeah. Here I am again.
Well, you seem to be golden when you sing a song. Let's ask you to sing another song.
Can you imagine if it was like this in person, where you just be talking to somebody at a restaurant and then they just suddenly vanish, and then they sort of come back all staticky, and then you see them coming in the door again, and it's like, hello.
Yeah, right, rebooted.
What shall I play you? What shall I play you? I have walked a long way to freedom, tried not to stumble and fall down in the road. I discovered that the secret of climbing these great hills is there's always one more hill to go. I have taken the time to stop and rest a while, looking back on the valley below. But I dare not linger, 'cause my long walk isn't over. So many miles still to go. And if faith is just a sinner who keeps on trying, so I kept my spirit pointed toward the sun. Freedom isn't freedom if it's only for yourself. The chains on me are the chains on everyone. So I let my light shine through the shadows of the night, from a tiny room behind the prison wall. The greatest glory in living doesn't lie in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. I had a dream, I had a dream, and I kept my spirit pointed toward the sun. I have walked a long way to freedom, and it seemed impossible till it was done. It seemed impossible, 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 till it was done. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful song.
Thanks. That's a tune called A Long Walk to Freedom, which I co-wrote with a young woman named Renee Smith from Cole Harbour in Nova Scotia. And we were asked to write a song to celebrate the life and the legacy of Nelson Mandela. So I figured that was another appropriate song for today.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm getting more comments here. So, it says split bill. Oh, that's on the screen. I'm sorry. I was like, what the heck? What is your? Oh, that's a Blackie and the Rodeo Kings, isn't that?
Oh no, this is here. It's a yeah. What's the split bill thing? Because that's not on the yeah. Okay.
That's my logo.
It's one of the movie posters from the Johnny Cash biopic Walk the Line.
Yeah.
With what's his name, Joaquin Phoenix, and I just loved it. I was still living in Ontario at the time, and I managed to talk the theater out of a copy of one of the posters and got it phone cord because I loved it so much. So that's what that is. Yeah.
Now, so I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You're one of those people who really pisses me off. You do it all very well, and I think of people like Robbie Folks in our country. Robbie Folks, Will Kimbrough, and those I call five tool players. They play well, write well, sing well, and put on a great show. But specifically, when it comes to playing, were you a player who started writing, or were you a writer who started playing, or how did it happen to you?
I was my very first sort of gig of any note was I got a gig playing at a place in Minneapolis called the Malt Shop, Minneapolis of all places. I lived there for 2 years, loved that city, and I worked at the Malt Shop as a dishwasher during the day, and then at night I played. So that was a real proving ground for me, and I did what I think everybody does in that sort of situation. You play a lot of cover tunes. 45 on, 15 off. That was the deal. 4 sets a night. And so I really started as somebody just playing, covers. And then there was this sort of epiphany for me. I caught a Greyhound across the country, and I realized that I really had to write a song, because this is what songwriters do, is they get on Greyhound buses and write songs about it. And so I tried to write a song, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Because, of course, I was comparing myself with all these, covers that I was playing every night. But that was kind of the way in. So I'm a songwriter that's tried very hard to flesh out all the other aspects of what I do. Because for the first, couple of decades of my career, I was on my own, primarily. And so, it's like I did a lot of gigs in English folk clubs where those are tough gigs, especially in Northern England. The audiences, they don't give you a lot back. And you got to, you like endless. I used a lot of open tuning, so endless tuning and kind of awkward silences where I'm staring at the neck of my guitar going ding, 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 ding. And these British folk audiences are just like staring at me. And then they go like this at the end of the song, like 4 or 5 claps, and then nothing. And you think, oh God, they hate me. So I've developed whatever meager resources I have been developed out of fear and the need to put on a show.
Right.
Yeah.
You're originally from Canada, right?
Yeah, I was born here in 1963. Left here roughly 69. I was 6 years old. Moved to Ireland and grew up in Ireland. So a big part of my life was spent, 11 years at that point in my life, sort of significant 11 years of my life was spent in Ireland.
Yeah. That's a very formative time to be spending in a different country.
Yeah, and a very different country. Canada in the late 60s was so new and raw, and kind of this raw materials kind of machine was going on with logging and mining and new highways and all that. And Ireland was this sort of second world country that was trying to get itself out of being, a part of England for one, but also it was really trying to put its economy back together and grow. And that kind of happened whilst I was, there was a lot of poverty when I was a kid there, but once I left, when I finished school, that's when Ireland, the Celtic Tiger, as they call it, started to roar. But I kind of witnessed Ireland putting itself back together, and it was such a contrast. There's no peanut butter.
No peanut butter.
No peanut butter, which is terrible for a North American kid. I was deprived horribly.
I was listening to an interview. The subject of the interview was an author, or he's a journalist, but he wrote a book about Edward Snowden, and they asked Edward Snowden what he missed most about America, and he said milkshakes, which just struck me as odd, I mean, it would be hard to make peanut butter, but you can make a milkshake, right? So,
yeah. I mean, even when I was a kid, things like, I don't remember blenders, like all that sort of modern kitchen technology. It didn't exist. It took us a year to get a phone installed in our house in Ireland when we first moved there. I remember my mother kind of losing her mind because she had, even though she's from Ireland, she'd become used to the sort of North American way of pick up the phone and something happens the next day. So it was a very different place to live, but a great place.
Did you have those heaters in Ireland? Did you have those heaters that you had to actually put coins in?
No, we didn't have those, but we did have the ones that just had the little. It was basically a couple of bars of electrical heating bar, and then there was this sort of thing that rotated behind it, and a light bulb. And it reflected the light bulb onto this sort of screen behind that made these sort of fake flames move. I remember one of those very clearly. And no insulation. So the houses were cinder block with no insulation. And I remember this whole, I guess it would have been like a news story, but about putting insulation in your house and how it was a really positive thing. And so cinder block houses with stucco on the outside and no insulation. And Ireland it's not freezing cold by any stretch. Snow is a rare thing, but North Atlantic, horrible gales and rain, and we had chilblains a lot on our fingers and toes as kids.
It could be cold or very cool and somewhat cold for a long period of time there. I remember that when I lived in England. But when I lived, we had heater. We had heaters, and like I said, they were basically just you put coins in them, and they would work for a certain period of time, and then then my roommates and I would argue about whose turn it was to feed the heater.
So the gas, you'd have to feed the gas meter.
I guess so. I don't recall how that worked, but it was just.
When
odd.
did you live there?
In the 80s. I was in college, and I got an internship at the House of Commons, and
wow.
So I worked for the Social Democratic Party. Right before they joined with the Liberal Party in '88.
And you were in London?
I got kicked out of the convention. I lived in London. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Notting Hill Gate. It was right.
Nice. Oh, what a great place to live. I know that part of the world.
It was beautiful. Right by the embassies and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real mixed ethnic. Notting Hill had a lot of Rastas, as I recall.
Yeah.
It was a pretty interesting part of the world. Cool.
Yeah, it was a very ethnically diverse neighborhood. And I think it was where I was, at least, was pretty expensive. Our flat was donated by a doctor who spent half his year in India, and so we got to live there for relatively inexpensively. But it seemed like a high-end neighborhood.
Yeah,
I think probably very expensive by my standards, no matter
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I think all of London's pretty much like that now. I was just over there for the UK Americana conference I guess I was there at the beginning of February, and we were based in Hackney. And it was really interesting because Hackney was one of the neighborhoods that got bombed all to hell during the war. So they threw up all this sort of social housing. And you can walk from some pretty Tony neighborhoods into real serious, sketchy, hardcore neighborhoods in 2 blocks. And one of my friends who I was there with is a Danish musician, MC Hansen, and he and I both attended the big sort of gala night at this theater across town, and we decided both independently that we were going to walk home. And it was an eye opener walking through parts of Hackney because some of it was just incredibly wealthy, and some of it was very wealthy. Wow, London is quite a city.
Oh yeah, it's the international city.
Yeah.
Hey, Susie's joining us. Hi, Susie. I'm sorry you're late. Also, So,
Susie?
yeah, or Susie. Yeah.
Nice. When do we get to see a picture of her?
Well, you could probably arrange for that.
Oh, so she's not coming on a camera. Hi, Alfreda Jorgensen. Hello.
I could bring her on if you want. I have to send her the pass. So, did you ever write songs that had a Celtic flavor?
I did. I wrote one a long time ago, but when I lived in Ireland, it was an interesting time to be there because the government was so speaking Gaelic was mandatory. If you were in Ireland before the age of 12, you had to learn Gaelic.
Wow.
So and Irish dancing, and there was this sort of kind of heavy-handed government thing about their culture. Obviously, they were trying to bring it back, and it was the flip side of the you weren't allowed to speak it and all that, and so we hated it because we were told to do it in school, and it was only as I was leaving Ireland. So I left in 79, 80. I finished high school and left and moved to Minneapolis. And it was only then that I remember Guinness ran an ad in Gaelic. And it was, Guinness was obviously one of the biggest industries in Ireland, still is. And, if you ever fly to Dublin and land at Dublin Airport, first thing you'll notice is all the Guinness ads, because they've sort of staked out all the terminals with huge billboards and all this stuff. And they're completely part of the culture. And so when they ran an ad in Gaelic, it was very much a kind of a sign of the times. And bands like Dedanan, Stockton's Wing, these Irish bands that were just starting to emerge that sang in Gaelic and played traditional music. There was obviously the Chieftains have been around for a long time, but they weren't a contemporary band in the same way as some of these bands like Dedanan were. And then there was this band called Planksty when I was really young, who were a rock band, but not Planksty, Horseflips, who were a rock band. And they kind of did a sort of a glam Celtic-y thing, but the short answer to your question is no, because I hated it when I was a kid, and it was only when I left that I started to appreciate how it had influenced me. And I just never wanted to be one of those professional Irish people that, even though I couldn't, because technically I have an Irish passport. I was looking on my desk because I recently had it out, but I wasn't born there, and I know professional Irish people who've lived in North America for 30 years, and they still talk like that, and they perform like that as well, and they have very successful careers that way. And I just never wanted to do that, and so I wrote a couple of tunes way back in the day, and then sort of took a hard left and stayed away from it. But people say that they can hear it in my playing. I'm not sure if I believe that. I'd like to think that elements of that poetic culture have crept in, but who knows?
I don't think that you can live somewhere like that and not absorb that. I mean, especially in a community where music is so important. I hear things all the time that are new to me, but I know them from my childhood. I didn't know who John Prine was, for example, growing up, but then I realized who John Prine was because it was the songs that my dad sang. Yeah. I was like, oh, I know who this guy is, even though I never heard of him. But until I was 22 or 3 or something. But
well, as a country, I mean, Ireland there's a great book if you're ever interested in reading this stuff. It's called How the Irish Saved Civilization, and it's an actual academic book, but it talks about during the Dark Ages, when the sort of the great culture, the Greek learning, the Roman, all that stuff that had accumulated, all that learning was being overrun and burned by the Goths and the Visigoths and the Hun, and these sort of outliers were coming in and basically sacking the great Roman cities and burning all these libraries, and a lot of that stuff, that libraries of this stuff. There's a great word, it's stuff. I'm talking about the accumulated learning ended up in Ireland because of the monks. And they spent a great bit of time, because of course the pre-printing press, the only way you could make a copy of a book was physically writing it out. And so they would copy these books and they kept them. And so, I don't know, maybe 100 years, 200 years later, when St. Patrick started to leave Ireland and go out into Europe, preaching his Christian message, but also he brought these books with him and kind of reintroduced a lot of this stuff back into reintroduced this learning back into Europe. And so it's a very plausible argument that the Irish indeed saved civilization, because it was pretty much wiped out. If it hadn't found somewhere remote and safe like Ireland to rest for a couple of hundred years, it would have been much better. So all of this learning that we still have from the great philosophers, because the Irish. So what a country. I feel very blessed to live there.
Nice. I've never been. One of my great regrets that I'm 53 years old, never been to Ireland.
Hang on one second. I'm just getting a knock at my door. So if you want to just entertain the troops for a sec.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll remind you that we have on Thursday at 3:00 Central Time, we have John Wart Hannum. And John is going to join me from Lethbridge, Alberta. I assume that he's there. That's where he lives. And then on Friday, we have the Queen of Vancouver Island, Miss Carolyn Mark, will be here at 3:00. So don't miss that. She's also the author of How to Be a Bougie Chanteuse.
Should know that one pretty good.
A great bathroom.
Sorry.
Yeah. Everything okay?
Yeah, I just I have a thing going on with TELUS. One of our service providers is doing some work, and they needed me to do something. I was like, no, not now.
Right. Hey, can we get you to play another song?
Yeah. You know what's weird is I'm so out of the loop of this. This year was going to be the busiest year for me that I basically had, because I had 2 records, my more solo record and then the Blackie and the Rodeo Kings record, and well, everything went pear-shaped. So I feel like I'm rusty. I feel like I'm super rusty, and it's really strange that I'm like, if you'd caught me even a month ago, I would have been, yeah, well, I can play you some new songs out of my new record and blah, 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 blah. But I kind of let go of that kind of thing. I've let go of it. It's sort of like I finally accepted what's going on, and I've let go of a lot of stuff, and now it's kind of like, all right, dude, pick it up. You know what? I'm gonna play an old song just because it'll make me happy, and it's got a little bit of a groove to it. I just have to tune for it.
I'll tell you, while you're tuning, I'll tell you what's happened to me is that because I'm talking to people every day and doing interview style, that I have a hard time imagining being on stage and having that fourth wall and doing the entertainer thing. It's more like much more personal. I'm sure I'm going back, but it's weird to think about to me.
Well, on the whole thing, I mean, it's wild to look at the comments. When were we ever able to sort of communicate with our audience in that way, where you can sort of look and go, oh, what gauge strings am I using? That kind of question. But yeah, that interaction it's really different. I do believe that this experience is going to change things down the road. Somebody pointed out to me quite recently that if you're disabled, if somebody with disabilities, this has been a godsend in many ways, because suddenly you have access to performance in a way that you never did before. And I've never even thought of it.
All right, get out of the way.
These train tracks run parallel and never shall they meet. You and I are 2 sides of the same suburban street. We share the same religion, and we hum the same old song. And we learn to keep our distance, and we never get along. Mercy, shine your love on me. Take this blind indifference and make me see all the good around me, all the friends that keep me clean. The human beings were never born to be so mean. The cost of happiness is rising like the stink of gasoline blowing down the highway from the trucks and the limousines. In the streets, the tempers, the V8 pistons fly, curses flung like bottles at the endless passerby. Oh, mercy, shine your love on me. Take this blind indifference and make me see all the good around me, all the friends that keep me clean. Human beings were never born to be so mean. I've been thinking about my father. I've been thinking about his son. I've been caught between what could have been and the things that we should have done. Sometimes I think the only thing that keeps it from someone is the pride you never lost and the respect that you never won. Oh, mercy, shine your love on me. Take this life and difference and make me see all the good around me, all the friends that keep me clean. Human beings were never born to be so mean. Human beings were never born. Human beings were never born. Human beings were never born to be so mean. Thank you. My screen went into screensaver mode about a third of the way in, and I kept thinking, I don't know if I've lost them, and I'm just playing here in my room, but I could see that my camera little light was still on, so good.
Well, it worked. It was great. No, it was a great song.
Thank you.
We should lament that we're going to miss going to come into River Nights this year. I would have seen there in a few weeks. I think you would have been there about a month from now. That's where I met you. It's been quite a few years now, but we actually got to do a show together. Was it 2 years ago? I think we were on. Yeah. You were one of my songwriters in the Songwriter showcase. It was a lot of fun.
I think I showed up late for that too. I think I did. I think I was driving in through some kind of crazy ass storms, like those crazy Alberta prairie storm, and I just sort of I remember hurtling onto the stage, and you were there and plugging in, and you were doing exactly what you're doing now, which is covering. Whilst I plugged in and plugged better around. Yeah.
So, I may be wrong about that. I met Tom out in New Hampshire or Vermont. I'm sorry, for the Roots on the River show. It was you and Colin and Tom, just the three of you, and that was so much fun. And I did not see it coming because Susie had been talking about you guys, and other people had been talking about you guys for a long time. And I was like interested, but the way you just took the stage, I try to describe this to people. The Blackie and the Rodeo King, the presence of that band is unmatched. It's like Springsteen is on stage, and it's just like it's fantastic. And the songs and everything, but the presence is just amazing. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. It is well, who knows when we'll be seeing each other again. I'm in touch with those guys fairly frequently, but yeah, it is I mean, I've been a solo artist for so much of my life that being in a band it's a lot of fun, and being in that band in particular, because they're all as nutty as you can imagine. Both guys are completely insane, but it is big hearts, very, very loving family kind of vibe. But it definitely is like being in a middle-aged elderly man's band. Gang. It's a gang.
Well, so is the album going to come out? I know maybe it's not something you can talk about, but I'd like to know. You can't wait to hear the record.
Yeah, it came out.
Oh, it did.
It did. This is our 25th year.
Right.
We've been a band for 25 years this year, and we came out with an album called King of This Town. And the weirdest thing of all, stacking one weird thing on top of another, but we got it released by Warner Bros. So we got signed to a major label, which is so bizarre. 25 years into our career, with the youngest member of the band being 57 years old, and we get signed to a major label and put out this album. So that whole thing was just starting. I was on the road with Susie and our crew. We managed to do 5 or 6 or 7 shows, and then we were looking at a fairly busy summer with festivals, but it was all going to start in the fall. So October, November, we're going to go right across Canada, and so apparently everything has been moved to next year. So it's going to be next year is going to be our 25th anniversary revisited. But that's classic Blackie and the Rodeo Kings right there. If you want to blame anybody for what's going on in the world right now, you could definitely blame Blackie and the Rodeo Kings. We had the audacity to try and celebrate a 25th anniversary by signing to a major label, and then everything went south.
And they said, no, we're gonna burn the world down instead. Yeah. Well, we have time. We have time for one more song, and then I gotta go. But it's sure been great to talk to you. I want to thank you for breaking out of your silence and coming out and playing for us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I actually, even though it feels so odd, a chance to pick this up and play it, knowing that there's people listening, as opposed to just noodling, away in front of a microphone on my own. It's a
Folks,
good thing.
This is Stephen Fearing from Victoria, Vancouver Island, British Columbia, and he's all around the world. And he's spent an hour with us playing songs and chatting. Check out his new record. Is the new your solo record out, or is it still coming out?
Yeah, it is out. It's it's out. You could certainly pick it up from my website. You can pick it up. That would be the best place to get it. I'm sure you can find it on the various services. But if you actually wanted to send some money to the creator, then get it from me. That'd be great. I'm going to play you, since I've sort of been playing political songs, it seems like one more wouldn't hurt.
Hey, Stephen, what's your website? What's your website?
StephenFearing.com, just like you'd think. Hopefully I'm really easy to find. My last name is is Fearing. So I don't think there's too many of us around. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, blah blah. Hopefully all things lead, but yeah, StephenFering.com.
Well, you made some good things today. I've seen people make comments, and hopefully they'll go buy your record at your website, and I will too. So I'll be back after the song.
Okay, thanks. She said, brace yourself for the shit show coming down tomorrow. I believe it's all gonna look a whole lot different than it does today. Remember all that time we begged and we stole and we borrowed. Well, the fix is in and the pipers and fuck those greedy liars, midnight riders with the power and the money. Their tinfoil had religion and their dark conspiracies. The brown shirts are back and the boys are hanging out with the Tories. And with one sad plastic plan floating out to sea. All the tears we've cried, all the sorrow and hold on to my hand, don't let go of it, don't let go of me. How strange we are, how magnificently broken. You know, even a busted clock can tell the time twice a day. But even if every one of us was lying there, overcome and choking, well, I wonder would we argue the last gasp of this precious life away? All the tears we've cried, all the sorrow and the need. Hold on to my hand, don't let go of it, don't let go of me. All the tears we've cried, all the sorrow and the need. Hold on to my hand, don't let go of me, don't let go of us.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks for having me.
I want to say thanks to all the people for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow with another great Canadian, Western Canadian, Mr. John Wart Hannum. And then on Friday, the Queen of the Vancouver Island will be joining us. And sorry, we're getting all these messages. So nice. You got some new fans here, Stephen. Wisconsin. All right. Hey, I didn't finish. Carol and Mark on Friday. So we'll see it. We'll see you when we see you, Stephen. Stay safe, and I can't wait to hear your new records.
Thanks so much for having me, Bill. Say hi to those other two, your next few guests, and I'll see you down the road. Take care of yourself.
Okay.